State wildlife biologists plan to expand testing of deer and other game following the discovery of high levels of the toxic chemicals known as PFAS in deer meat from the greater Fairfield area. Last week, a do not eat advisory was issued for deer harvested from what's considered a hot spot for PFAS contamination. Even with the hunting season now winding down, the state's largest organization for hunters and other sportsmen wants more to be done to ensure that wildlife from other areas of the state are safe to eat. News Center Maine's Vivian Lee has our follow-up.
A far more reaching plan to test deer, possibly turkey and other wildlife is in the works before next year's hunting season. This after high levels of PFAS chemicals were discovered in deer meat killed in Fairfield, prompting a do not eat recommendation for deer harvested from Fairfield and 5 neighboring communities. Nate Webb is a Wildlife Division Director for the State Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife.
We also are working with DEP and CDC to identify other locations for testing as well. Again, those plans are still being developed.
An ongoing Department of Environmental Protection investigation in the Fairfield area focused on well water contaminated with the industrial chemicals, which have been linked to a number of health problems, including kidney issues, cancer, and immune system dysfunction. The source of the contamination, wastewater sludge, some from paper mills, spread as fertilizer on farm fields for decades. Over the next several years, regulators plan to test hundreds of sites beyond the Fairfield area. 34 have been identified as top priority for sampling.
We don't currently have any evidence that deer in any other locations have been impacted.
The do not eat advisory for only 6 central Maine communities, though, is not easing concerns about possible widespread PFAS contamination. David Trahan is the executive director of the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine, which represents more than 30,000 sportsmen and women.
We harvested last count almost 38,000 deer in the state. Those 38,000 deer get shared in families and with friends. That could impact 100,000 people.
Now, having your deer meat or game tested for PFAS chemicals is a tough process. Currently, there are no labs in Maine that have the capability, only a few across the country, and often they don't accept samples from private citizens. IF&W sent samples of deer meat to a lab in Massachusetts before hunting season got underway. A backlog resulted in the findings being released with only a few weeks left in the season. Discussions have just begun about conducting PFAS testing on deer and game at the University of Maine Cooperative Extension Diagnostic and Research Lab in Orono, which tests deer ticks for Lyme and other pathogens. Personnel and equipment would run more than $500,000, and no decisions yet have been made. Vivian Lee, News Center, Maine.
And we'll have more information on PFAS chemicals from the Centers for Disease Control on our website and the News Center Maine app.